Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, first thing we have to do before anything else, with everything going on, we kind of haven't talked about this yet, but the lottery window for next year's, the 2025 London Marathon, is open right now, this very moment. And by the time you hear this, it's not going to be open for much longer. So, as we sit here and put this out on Monday, April 22nd, I think we only have until April 27th to get your name submitted to the lottery. So, yes, I know it was just yesterday that they ran the London Marathon, but the lottery for next year's London Marathon is already open. So do not miss it. Do not miss your opportunity if running London is something you've wanted to do. Are we all going to get rejected from this race? Of course we are, but we have to try. We have to at least try. You got to get your name in there. Come on, we will accept our defeat with dignity and grace as we do every year that London doesn't take us. But you can't do that if you don't submit your name. So the marathon lottery is open right now. Go ahead and get yourself signed up. Roll the dice. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe you make it. Maybe you make it. So we have until April 27th to get our names in. And then it sounds like there's not a real clear answer, but it sounds like we're not going to know for about 2 months who made it and who didn't. So don't expect your yearly rejection until sometime in June. It sounds like that's kind of my guess. That's what I'm going with. So anyway, wanted to throw that out first and foremost before we jumped into anything else. Secondly, last week's episode, the Too Slow for Boston Marathon, a smashing success for the podcast. It sounds like everybody wanted to hear about that race. That race itself, all those folks down there have been nothing but wonderful and supportive. They have shared the podcast episode out there. This episode has the most YouTube video views ever for any Back of the Pack podcast. So thank you to everyone who watched on YouTube. Again, we were super late to the YouTube game, so we're still trying to build that up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel under the Back of the Pack podcast. Don't forget the very important. Gets you to the new one and not the old channel that we don't use anymore. But biggest episode for views on YouTube and then views on Facebook. And then right up there at the top of actual podcast download. So huge thank you to the Too Slow for Boston people. Again, you guys have been wonderful. And I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. There's already been discussions about heading down there next year. I know there are some interested parties, not just local runners and people in my running circle, but there are some other interested parties that have reached out to me because they heard about it on the podcast. We're talking possible collaborations going on next year down in South Carolina with other running peoples and running podcasts. So stay tuned for more information as that develops. But again, we got a whole year. Conversations are early and ongoing, but we might really try and get something going down there in South Carolina next year. And if we get that chance, I'm excited for what that could turn into. That could be a lot of fun. Sorry, I don't do a very good evil laugh, apparently. That was terrible. Okay, so here in Kansas City this weekend, again, not traveling, was in South Carolina last weekend, back up here for a race this weekend. We had the Garmin Land of Oz half marathon, and so this completed the Heartland 39.3 series that consisted of the Liberty half marathon at the end of March, Rock the Parkway at the beginning of April, and now the Garmin Land of Oz half marathon here at the mid to end of April. The series is done. So let's grab the medal for Garmin. Take a look. If you are watching on any of the videos, there you go. Try not to get the glare there, but as you can see, nice Wizard of Oz themed race this year. It was Galinda, the Good Witch. And if anyone has seen Wicked, they're laughing hysterically right now because I said Galinda. But yeah, so there is this one. And again, this completed the Heartland series. Let's grab this big old honking medal. So this, folks, as you can see, if you're watching the screen, I am wearing my Heartland 39.3 series jacket. We got jackets this year, nice running jackets. And then here's the medal. As you can see, nice big medal there, and it incorporates all the races. So we have the Fountain from Rock the Parkway. We have the Good Witch running from Garmin Land of Oz, and she's actually holding a torch for Liberty. So I know it's kind of hard to see. It has all three of the races on the medal. So yeah, check it out. There you go. And then, of course, we put the Garmin Land of Oz medal out for Medal Monday. Hopefully you all saw that on our social media platforms. And you are playing along as I'm recording this right now because the post is out there. So now you got to play along. Next up for the race, we are going to Topeka, Kansas for the Top City Half Marathon. We've talked about Top City before. That is our next race. Good folks down there, really good course. It's a PRable course. So if you have if you've been training and if you're, on your game right now, Top City is definitely a course that you can PR. Now, do I expect a PR? No. So we had a full marathon last weekend, half marathon this weekend. My legs are telling me that I'm an idiot right now at this very moment. So next weekend, I don't expect my legs are going to be back to 100%. So I'm going for the fun and the experience. And because I like this race and I like the people who run this race, and I think it's a lot of fun. I want to be there to support and I will do my best. But I'm not expecting any miracles as in a PR in this course. But if you are on your game, this is a highly PRable race, and I hope everyone will just do really well. And we will see you down there in Topeka, Kansas on the 27th. And then on Sunday, the 28th, 2 races going on. So there's the trolley run. The trolley run are becoming good friends of the program. They are very interactive with us on social media, which is great. I appreciate them. And of course, they are a great charity for CCVI. And I want everyone who's in town who is not otherwise occupied to go to the trolley run. Okay. It is a wonderful race, 4-mile race, all downhill. And again, it is my 4-mile PR. Trolley run is. I'm quite sure trolley run is my 4-mile PR. So if you like 4-mile races, this one you will crush. I won't be there this year because there's a race that came to town. It's usually in the fall. Now it's here in the spring. It is the Get Your Rear in Gear 5K. It's up by Kansas City's airport in a place called Zona Rosa. It's just a 5K, but it has a personal attachment to me. One of the teams is Team Shaney. Shaney was a dear, dear friend of mine who we lost to colon cancer, and she was a supporter of this race while she was, still with us. And now we run in memory of Shaney at this race every year since she has passed. So I will be at the Get Your Rear in Gear 5K. This is for me personally. This is an important race for me. Nothing against Trolley Run. Trolley Run is an amazing run, and I hope you all are there. If you're not there, if you're in Zona Rosa, Get Your Rear in Gear, I hope to see you there. That is where I will be. But again, 2 amazing races. It stinks that they're on the same day, but it's the personal attachment for me that got me to Get Your Rear in Gear instead of Trolley Run. But Trolley Run is a great race. So if you're looking for a race, and you haven't signed up yet, sign up for Trolley Run and make sure that you are there. Okay? Okay. So moving backwards to what we just did this weekend. This weekend was the Garmin Land of Oz Half Marathon. So this race, I know a lot of people really like it when we kind of do a turn-by-turn breakdown of a race. And trust me, I like doing that too. I like really kind of giving you the information about the race. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a lot of it, some of it, but if you did that race, you'll understand that a turn-by-turn breakdown is not possible because all that race is twists and turns and here and there and yonder and up and down. It's wild. But anyway, so this race has a 6:45 start. Now, I don't know, or I'm not really close or tight with the race directors for this. I couldn't even tell you who the race directors are for the Garmin Land of Oz Marathon, and I certainly mean no ill will towards them. The one complaint that I have, the one runner's issue that I have, parking. Getting in that morning was a debacle. Parking is terrible. They close everything down and are filtering everyone along this long winding road and then into a parking garage that is meant for all the employees of Garmin. And I'm sure that's great, but when you get all these cars and all these people trying to get in at the same time, it was a debacle. It was very slow moving, and I could see how it would be a little stressful. Now, they do offer a shuttle service. You could park way down where the packet pickup was, park your car, get on a shuttle. Shuttle brings you up. But people were telling horror stories how the race started at 6:45 and they're getting off the bus at 6:37. Now, I don't know what their arrival time was, but that does not give you a lot of time to stretch, hit the Porta Johns, get in the starting corrals, and be ready to go. Like, I bet a lot of people race morning were just feeling a little rushed, just a little rushed. We're going to go with that. So the parking in this situation was not awesome, but there's worse things in life. I got parked, got out. The good news is this race actually starts right along the side of their parking garage. So everyone was just kind of in the parking garage waiting to head to the start line. It was a chilly, chilly morning. I'm not going to say it was downright cold, but I am going to say it was downright chilly. So, a lot of people waiting in the parking garage. Unfortunately, very windy morning, very windy. So, cold and windy, kind of the name of the game for that entire race. Honestly, I never warmed up. I never warmed up during that race. I mean, sure, you sweat a little bit because you're doing activity, but really, I had less than a 5K left where my fingers finally weren't cold, where I didn't feel like, whoo, my thinners are falling off here. So again, you can't control the weather. If I had it to do differently, I would have worn another layer. At least up top, I would have worn, a dry tech long sleeve shirt. Instead, I just had short sleeves on. But what are you going to do? Saw a lot of people. We all took our pictures, and then the race began. Another runner issue I have. Sorry, this is number two. I hate wave starts. Hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them. Don't like them at all. If our start time is 6:45, why am I not getting across the start line till like 6:54, 6:56, somewhere in that area? They started the elites, and I get that. I get that a lot of races give the elites head starts. In my little mind, why are we giving the fastest people a head start? What, are they afraid I'm going to catch up with them? That's not going to happen. Start the race. The fast people are going to go anyway. Now, for this race, I understand it a little bit. Those roads did fill up rather quickly with people. I was all the way in the back, and I happened to be right around the 3 hour pacers. That's where I started. It's actually not where I intended to start, but that's just kind of where I finagled in. I wasn't able to get ahead of them until like the first mile because it was so congested once we started. So, as much as I hate wave starts, I won't rag on it too much because those roads were narrow. We just had one lane and we had a lot of runners. So, I guess I get it, but I don't like a 6:45 start time and I'm not starting until almost 10 minutes after that. That never makes me happy. If you're going to do a wave, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds top, you send the next group out and you get it moving. That's just me. That's just me. So again, I can't do a turn by turn breakdown of this race. There were tons of twists and turns. I will say that I am thrilled that this race went very quickly for me. And the reason being, of course, last week was a full marathon that I did horribly at. I was well over 6 hours. Okay. Because I could be. Because I could be. There was no sweeper. There was no one that was going to knock me off the course. The motivation, the self motivation to keep going just wasn't there to try and break any records. And again, if you want to know more about that, go back and listen to last week's episode. We talked kind of about the difference between a Boston Marathon and a too slow for Boston Marathon. Won't rehash that. But I had a reason to go this week. I had a reason to go because I didn't know when my legs were going to give out because I'm certainly not recovered from a full marathon. There's just no way that's the case. And yeah, it was nice though, because after a very long full marathon, a half marathon, you don't feel like you're out there very long. But I did catch up with a 240 pacer, a runner in our area that we are, all familiar with. She was pacing 240. I'm not going to throw her name out there. Some people get weird about that stuff, so I don't know. But to the 240 pacer, who I ran with for half the race, thank you very much. We chit-chatted for a while. She kind of kept me going. I knew after the halfway point, the fatigue was just going to set in, and it did. So a little bit after halfway, I told her, hey, best of luck. Go get him, Tiger. And she went along her merry way, which was totally fine. The second half of the race for me went slower. But again, 240 is the pace I started at. I finished at 242. I'll take it. I'll take it on these tired legs. So 242 half marathon. That course is a faster course than I ran it in my humble opinion. Now, the cold weather made it difficult. The wind made it difficult. And really, there was only a couple bad hills, not much. Certainly could be a lot worse. It wasn't Liberty, but I actually ran Liberty faster by a minute than I ran Garmin. Garmin is an easier course, though. So if you are looking for a Kansas half marathon to do, this is a big one. Everyone likes the Wizard of Oz theme. The course is relatively easy. Now, this is the first time I've run this particular course. They've tweaked it a little bit since the last time I ran it. No big deal. But I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was a good course. It was a nice morning, just cold. It was a nice morning, just breezy. A lot of twists and turns on the course. Ran out of gas, a little more than halfway through. Finished up at 242. Got my medals. Got my Heartland Series stuff. It was a good morning. It was a good morning. Can't say much else about it. So if you're looking for a race in Kansas, they do offer the full. Never done the full. Probably never will do this full. But if you are looking for a full, this would be a good one. I'm sure they support well. Half marathon, I can guarantee you it's fine. It's more than acceptable because I've done it several times. Did it again this year, of course. And then they do have a 10K as well. And to my 10K listeners, haha, you guys were so proud of yourselves with your 10K bibs and just watching all of us half marathoners go off into the cold, windy morning as you got to sit there like I'm doing a 10K. Haha, I'll be done and fine long before you hit the finish line. And you know what two of you I'm talking about because you guys were giving me grief after the race, pointing my fingers at you. So anyway, but that was a fun morning. That was a fun morning. So what are we going to talk about this week? Well, I've kind of gone back and forth on it, but thankfully social media has helped me out. We're in a stretch right now where we are all doing a lot of racing. Okay. We've had the Boston Marathon. We had the London Marathon just yesterday. We've had the Heartland 39.3 series. It is spring running season, big time. And a lot of us crazies, you're out every weekend, man. You're out running races every weekend. We're seeing each other every weekend. We're traveling around. We're seeing, traveling to races. You're driving to South Carolina, going up to Lincoln, Nebraska in 2 weeks. Some people are going north, some people are going south, east, west. We're all over the place. The thing we really have to remember right now is we're doing this for fun, right? I am seeing on the social media scene a lot of people are getting down on themselves for their performances, and a lot of people are getting down on others, okay? We really need to keep in mind that this running community is for all of us to enjoy. And when you get to a point where you're not enjoying it, you need to rethink things. Now, we've had episodes before talking about burnout. This isn't burnout. This is maybe putting unreasonable expectations on yourself. This is maybe dealing with some disappointment in your own performance, or this could be about feeling disappointed in what other people think of your running. And that is the very dangerous part of this because I've seen a lot of this. We all want the people to feel how we feel about running. We all want people to look at us in awe of what we have done. And most of the time they do, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case. You're not always going to accomplish this awesome running feat. Maybe your first half marathon, your first full marathon, your Boston qualifying time, the Boston Marathon in general, getting accepted into a race, getting an age division award. These things that the rest of this our running world would celebrate for you, not everyone in your personal life is going to do that. And so what we really need to figure out and kind of really refocus on is your worth as a runner is not determined by anyone else. There is no one else out there that can determine your worth as a runner. The only person who can do that is yourself. Your only competition, unless you are an elite level runner, is that person that stares at you every morning in the mirror. Okay, that is who are you competing against. And a lot of times it's not just the physical competition, it's the mental and emotional competition as well. Because as we talked about before, if you were to show up at a start line mentally defeated about a race, your race is going to suck. Okay, well, did someone else make you mentally defeated for that race? No. Was it a condition that happened that made you mentally defeated for that race? No. You already put that in your mind and in your heart that this race already had your number. And so when you showed up, you were already done. And I can almost guarantee you that your race wasn't good. So one of the things is we really, like I said, we cannot worry about what other people put as value on our accomplishments as runners. Our accomplishments are ours. We share them and we love it when people love them as well, but they're really for us. And you cannot let other people put their weight and their baggage and either their lack of enthusiasm or their lack of interest. You can't take that to heart because that's not actually on you. Just like your competition is you in the mirror, their issues with what you did running is their issues. It really doesn't pertain to you. And so what I found here was just this little article. And again, this is my opinion. You guys could tell me I'm wrong. You might see this completely different. And if you do, let me know. That's totally cool. I entertain all sides and thoughts. But I found an article here because the way I wanted to phrase this, and it's not a new phrase, a lot of people use it. We need to be our own cheerleaders. We cannot put all of our eggs in the basket of others' approval. You cannot you can't be mentally defeated because other people didn't come to the finish line, or other people didn't send you kudos, or other people just didn't care as much as you did. Or, and we've all seen this, and I've been seeing this a lot lately. Okay, so little sidebar, if you go to my personal social media account, 98% of what I post is about this podcast. It's about trying to get people interested in the podcast, sharing episodes, sharing pictures. It's either running or this podcast. That's it. I don't share a whole lot else anymore because, social media is fine, and I'm trying to use it for, the podcast game, but personal wise, I don't much care anymore. So I have actually gotten unfriended by a lot of people, and I'm talking people as far back as high school. I've unfriended me because all I talk about is the podcast and running. People who I've met in all different walks of life, people are unfriending me because of this. Now, if I took all that to heart, I wouldn't do this. I'd be like, oh my goodness, they're unfriending me because they're tired of hearing about running, or they're tired about me posting about the podcast. Oh, what am I going to do? Okay, well, that's them. That's their response to my situation and to how I do things, and that's cool. That's their journey. Y'all go do your thing. But for me over here, this is what I enjoy talking about. This is what I enjoy doing. This is certainly what I want to build up to be a bigger and better thing every time. So I'm going to post and I'm going to talk about it. And I'm just going to be my own biggest cheerleader for both my running accomplishments and my podcasting accomplishments, because those are important to me. And if I put their values on it, then I'm not going to do this anymore. But I love it. So I'm going to be my cheerleader. I am going to be out there and I'm going to be doing my things. And I welcome them. You go do yours. You do you. I'll do me. We do us. Go team, go. So here's a little article I found on just ways that you can be your own cheerleader. It's very quick. It's very simple. But, I think sometimes we need to hear these things and realize that it is okay to think about yourself. It is okay to be your own biggest cheerleader and to want what's best for you, especially in the context of this running world. Because if you're not trying to be better every day, if you're not trying to be just that half second faster on every run, then I personally don't understand what you're doing. Now, sure, I've had good races, I've had bad races, I've had wonderful races, and I've had dog duty races, but I've always tried. And as long as you're trying, then I think you're doing great. Some people might just be resigned to, hey, I'm going to be slower every race. And I can't understand that logic, but again, you do you. So for me, here's how to be your biggest cheerleader. Okay, number one, we just covered this. Don't have expectations for others. Now, this was written by a business magazine, so it may not completely translate to running, but it's pretty close. So don't have expectations for others. No one cares more about what your goals are than you. You know what your vision is and how you plan to make that vision a reality. No one else understands that. So you can't expect them to care just as much as you. Of course, it's nice to receive support of any kind while on your journey, but don't weigh yourself down with negative emotions if you don't receive it. Ta-da! Ding, ding, ding. Is that not what we just talked about? It is. Number two, celebrate any milestone. It's freeing and a confidence booster to celebrate yourself. It doesn't matter the size of your milestone you've reached or what the accomplishment is. Celebrate everything. The more you can celebrate yourself, the less you will care about those who didn't celebrate you. Perfect. Okay, so think about this. What can we celebrate in the running world? Well, the short answer is everything. We can celebrate absolutely everything. You can celebrate your first PR. You can celebrate your first 5K. You can celebrate your first 5K PR. Celebrate your first 10. Celebrate your first half. Celebrate your first full. Celebrate your first negative split. Celebrate anything you can in the running world. Celebrate every time you cross a finish line and they hand you one of these. That is a celebration. That is a celebration of something you did. You accomplished this. No one ran the race for you. They hand this to you because you earned it. Celebrate it every time. Don't cross the finish line and be like, oh, my time wasn't what I wanted, or oh, I wanted to be quicker, or oh, I should have done better. Celebrate it anytime they hand you one of these medals. Quote the Kyle, nevermore. Next one, number three, cheer yourself on. Write your goals down, and once you've reached them, be proud of yourself. Give yourself a mental high five and maybe treat yourself to something nice. Speak positively to yourself. It says, I'm a firm believer in manifestation being a real thing, so I often speak what I want in my life as though it is. Know and understand that you are deserving as much as anyone else. Huge. And honestly, Mrs. Back of the Pack podcast has really gotten into this manifesting thing. And the more we do it, the more I actually see some signs that this is true. So, yes, manifest it, whatever you're striving for. And again, this is no shots taken. And I hope this comes off as the encouragement, I hope, and not as a negative statement, because it is absolutely not, because I've been here. If your goal is a 5K in under 55 minutes, if your goal is a 5K in under 50 minutes, if your goal is a 5K in 45 minutes, if that is your goal, you write that down. You speak that into existence. And when you get it, you celebrate the living earmuffs shit out of it. Celebrate it, because, man, I've been there. I've been there where I just couldn't get the times to where I wanted, and I wanted that sub whatever. And when you get it, man, that is a huge accomplishment. And don't feel like, well, okay, I wanted to get under that 50-minute 5K. Well, I'm still last in my age division, and I'm still, last gender across, and there's no one else here. You know what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You celebrate when you accomplish your goal, whatever that goal is, and you don't let anyone else shit on your goal, because it's your goal and you accomplished it. So you did something. I don't care what that looks like. I'll be there to celebrate it. I will cheer right along with you. The next one, number 4, view yourself as your ally, your own best friend. Being your own best friend means supporting and motivating yourself just like you would a friend. Showing up for yourself when others cannot or will not. You will gain more self-awareness, confidence, and compassion for yourself in doing so. And the greatest thing I can compare this to, we've all, whether we spoke it or not, and a lot of us haven't, we've all had that finish line where we wish like hell someone had shown up there, where someone had been at that finish line cheering for you. Not just, nice stranger whose family member hadn't finished yet, or, friend who knows you, or person who's yelling because your name is on the bib. Those people are all wonderful. Don't get me wrong. And I love each and every one of you, anyone who cheers you on. But we've all crossed that finish line and it just wished like hell someone had taken their time to show up in support of us. It would have been great. Would have felt wonderful, right? But we don't always get that. So when you cross that finish line and there's not that other person there, you've got to be that person. You've got to be like, hey, good job, me. Congrats to me. I've done something. I've done a half. I got the half done that I was worried about, or, I wasn't properly trained, but I am crossing this finish line anyway. Sometimes you got to be there for you when others aren't. And they're not always going to be as much as we want them to. And so we got to do it ourselves sometimes. And then the last one that they list here, just number 5, I told you this was a real quick list. Practice positive affirmations. Practicing writing positive affirmations is another way to cheer yourself on. Affirmations motivate you, challenge you, and push you to reach your full potential. So celebrate your accomplishments, even if no one else does. Don't expect anyone to be supportive, and also don't be angry if they don't. Showing yourself the same support you would a friend will boost your confidence and happiness. Then, in conclusion, being your own cheerleader isn't about being arrogant or thinking you're better than anyone else, but it's about making sure you don't feel the need or desire to count on others to validate you and your accomplishments. It's also about taking steps to keep your mental health in check. There we go. As I couldn't finish that sentence because, in my usual way, the hiccups come along when I talk too much. So anyway, I hope some of that registered. I hope some of that made you feel a little better, because we're in that season where we will have our bad races, and so we'll get on ourselves. We won't have the support that we want from others, and so we get on ourselves. Even if no one else is at that finish line, that does not take away from your accomplishment in any way, shape, or form. So if no one else is going to be there for you, whether just by coincidence or by choice, you be there for yourself. And trust me, you've still done something amazing. Don't let anyone else take that away. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. Deal? Deal. So when we all cross the finish line at Top City, even though there's going to be a big group of us down there, When you cross that finish line, you take that moment, and it can be half a second, it can be 30 seconds. Cross the finish line, look at your medal, and say, damn, I did that. I did that. The people cheering for you are wonderful, but they did not pick you up and set you down over and over again for 13.1 miles. So when you cross at Top City or wherever you run this weekend, take a half a second to 30 seconds to however long you need. You look at that medal, you did that. Nobody did it for you. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure, as always. Please go out there and get yourself entered into the lottery for the London Marathon, as it's open right now and only for a few more days. And then we'll be back next week to wrap up Top City and get ready for whatever our next ridiculously fun race experience is going to be. So everyone have a safe week of training. Enjoy the beautiful weather, as it looks like, at least here in Kansas City. A lovely week is ahead of us. We will see you next week.